Hi, this is Jason Flatt from the Holy Star Wars Podcast, and you're listening to Less Than 12 Parsecs, the fastest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy. And now here's your host, Tim McMahon.
Thank the Maker. This oil bath is going to feel so good.
I like to say that I don't pay attention to rumors and spoilers, and that's true when it comes to storyline-related things. But when it comes to stories about the production of a Star Wars film, then I'm all ears. There's a story going around this week that Sam Esmail, the writer, creator, showrunner of Mr. Robot, is in talks to write and or direct a standalone film, which may or may not end up being the Ben Kenobi flick. Now, I don't watch as much TV as I would like, being as I'm such a busy guy, as illustrated by the fact that I only do a 5-minute podcast. But Mr. Robot is one of the shows I watch, and man oh man do I really enjoy it. The first season was incredible, and while the second season felt a bit pretentious, I'm definitely going back for the third. Anyway, this got me to thinking, what other television writers and creators do I think would make great choices for future Star Wars films, either as writers or directors? Now, before I start, I feel like I may not be the best person to create such a list, because I'm far from an expert on current television, but when have I ever let my lack of expertise stop me before? Before I begin, please forgive me if I mispronounce people's names. I am horrible at names. Here we go.
Number 1.
Joe Weisberg, creator and writer of The Americans. The Americans is my favorite drama on the air today. It's the story of two deep undercover Soviet spies in 1980s America. It is one of the tightest, most gripping thrillers I have ever seen. I can't tell you how tense the show makes me feel sometimes. And it's not your typical spy show tension where it's like, oh, are they gonna defuse the bomb in time? No, it's more mundane, real tension, like the threat of their teenage daughter figuring out they're not who they really claim to be. With Lucasfilm looking to take Star Wars in different genres, I think Weisberg would be a great writer for the first real Star Wars spy thriller. Hey, I'm sorry, I know Cassian Andor was a spy, but Rogue One was not a real spy story in my opinion. Sorry, but there you go.
Number 2.
Beau Willimon, writer, creator of the US version of House of Cards. I know, I've complained about there being too much politics in the Star Wars prequels before, but that said, you can't have Star Wars without some political themes and politics in the background. And while it's probably too late to have Ian McDiarmid come back to make a movie about the political rise of Sheev Palpatine, if anyone could write that story, it would be Willimon. I can't be the only one who watches House of Cards and thinks that Frank Underwood is the real-world equivalent of Palpatine. I know the guys on Beltway Banthas have talked about this too. But hey, even if it wasn't a Palpatine story, or even a political story, I think Willimon could bring us a great new conniving villain that would make Thrawn look just average.
Number 3.
Drew Goddard, creator and writer of Daredevil on Netflix. Daredevil is my favorite of the Marvel TV shows. From its conflicted hero to its almost sympathetic villain to the action, it's just a great show. And Drew Goddard is the man behind it. But Goddard's resume beyond Daredevil is just as impressive. The Martian, Cabin in the Woods, Cloverfield, Buffy, Alias, Lost, the guy has written some great stuff. He is certainly a talent that I would love to see work on Star Wars. I can't say what he would bring to the franchise specifically, stylistically, but I would like to find out.
Number 4.
Graham Mason and John Fawcett, the writer-director team behind Orphan Black. I have to admit, I'm late to the game when it comes to Orphan Black. I'm only starting season 2 now, but wow, season 1 was great. Another thriller, a bit of sci-fi, the show is something special for sure. While Orphan Black is not a show about the underworld, for some reason an underworld type story is what comes to my mind when I contemplate Mason and Fawcett working in the Star Wars universe. A film that plays out like a chess match, with characters trying to outwit one another, backstabbings, literal and figurative, and double crosses. I'm one of those fans who hopes someday we get a Jabba the Hutt movie, and I'd like to see their take on this gangster.
Number 5.
Okay, this one may sound silly, but hear me out. Michael Schur, who worked on the US version of The Office, Parks and Rec, and now Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's a guy who has the ability to write groups. And you know what group we all want to see on the big screen? The Bounty Hunters. And while Schur's past works are primarily comedy, you know what? So was Phil Lord's and Christopher Miller's, and they are now heading up the Han Solo movie. I love the dynamic of the groups in Schur's works. The characters are all different, sometimes radically so, but they are also always one, like a family. Now, I'm running out of time here, but I like the man's work, and I'd like to see him write a Star Wars story. Simple as that. All right, there you go. Those are 5 television writers, directors, creative teams that I would like to see work on a Star Wars film. Who would you like to see make the jump from television to Star Wars? I want to know. Email me at 12parsekspodcast@gmail.com or connect with me on any of my social media accounts. All the links can be found on my website, 12parsekspodcast.com. Thanks for listening. Ootini!
Go switch off!
You've been listening to Less Than 12 Parsecs, the fastest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy, part of the expanded Fandomverse network of shows. For links and show notes, visit our website, 12parsecsPodcast.com. Follow Less Than 12 Parsecs on Twitter at 12parpod, on Instagram at 12parsecsPodcast, on Tumblr at 12parsecsPodcast, and find us on Facebook as well. And please let us know what you think. Email us at 12parsecsPodcast@gmail.com.